Good evening, everyone. How are you? Hi, Sky Troop. I hope you and the missus are doing well. I hope you guys can hear me. Am I working? Can you hear me? Hang on. Okay, good. I can't see my little icon. Okay. So I wanted to revisit my theory on license plate readers finding Wendi Adelson. And I wanted to start off with a clip from Deep Dive True Crimes interview with Detective Isom. And this is part 1. I know we broke it up in several parts. I don't even know if I've seen all of the parts yet. But I wanted to start with playing this piece from Detective Isom and then going back to my live stream from a few weeks ago, because I think sometimes my technical issues, my message gets lost in the translation. But so I'm just going to give a little rundown. My theory behind how they found Wendi Adelson is that they used license plate readers. I don't believe, well, and I talk about this in my live stream a few weeks ago, but I don't believe that they followed her. I don't believe they used cell phone pings because they have to have a judge sign off on that. They have to have probable cause in order to gain a warrant to contact the cell phone companies in order to get a cell phone ping analysis. And license plate readers were installed as early as January of 2009. So I'm going to play, first and foremost, Mentor Lawyers. I need to make sure this is set up. Okay, I'm going to play this part of the interview with Isom, and this is when he's talking about locating Wendi. And he starts off with, talking to or finding out about, the neighbor, Mr. Geiger.
A while back, but what do you remember receiving? What information did you receive during the briefing?
Okay, so initially, the victim was asserted to be Markel. However, as I said, he had severe head trauma, and the next door neighbor had said, I don't remember when I found this out. I had so much information coming at me from different directions. The next door neighbor, Mr. Geiger, had said that was Danny Markel's car, but he wasn't convinced that was Danny Markel sitting in the driver's seat when he went over there. And,
Do you not have sound, John Smith? Like Sky Troop said that he could hear. Kim Staying Tuned has sound. Could it be on your end? Oh, and thank you for being here, Kim Staying Tuned. Of course, Sky Troop, I said it earlier, and John Smith. Could it be on your end, John? Okay, no problem. So just for everyone who's showing up late, I just wanted to revisit my license plate reader theory on how they found Wendi. And I wanted to start by playing Mentor Lawyers interview, a segment of it with Isom, and they're discussing locating Wendi. Hi, Tennis Girl. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm going to continue with Isom.
he first went over there and he saw that, Markel.
So right now he's just really talking about when Geiger first heard the noises, the gunshots, he went over to Dan's house. He discusses that even though it was Dan Markel's home, Dan Markel's car, they still weren't certain that it was Dan Markel because, you know, we know that he had been shot in the face.
It appeared it was still breathing.
Right.
And so it ended up being Markel, of course, but
Sure.
at first we didn't know for sure.
Okay.
And then the other thing was to check on family. Like I said, I did not know these people beforehand. The city utilities were in Wendi Adelson's name. So before.
And that's definitely something new. Very interesting that she still had the utilities in her name at the Trescott home.
Anything else happened, I was already told, you know, Wendi Adelson is most likely his wife. Wendy's a female name. It was only in her name, the city utilities. So that's what we were told, or what I was told, was that they were trying to figure out where she worked or where she would be, things of that nature. Now, while we're on the scene, I was already told that there was no evidence of a break-in into the house proper. So there was no indication that anybody entered the interior air conditioning and heated part of the house as a result of this incident. Wasn't completely satisfied yet, but there was no indication.
Sure.
So at some point, and there was a lot of people involved in this. I mean, my whole unit, the violent crimes unit, plus other investigators, plus other patrol officers. It was a large. Fortunately, we had the resources to where something like this occurred. We had all hands on deck. So it wasn't a case that we didn't have enough manpower or anything like that. So this was an exigent circumstance situation.
Sure.
And this is not my part of it. I just know what I was told, and I was given the information.
So he says all hands on deck, right? That means everybody is involved in locating.
That there had been something that's commonly referred to as data mining. And
Okay, remember that term, data mining. I say data mining, but he's saying data. Data mining.
it became determined that Wendi Adelson had a cell phone, and Daniel Markel had a cell phone. His cell phone was still on scene. It was on the garage floor. So during this time, I believe there was an effort to contact her by phone. I'm not 100% positive, but to verify, that's her number or so forth. But that was not successful, to what I understood.
So the police tried to phone her, but they were not able to get in touch with her.
So I'm on scene. I'm gathering this information. I'm, correlating with the other investigators, other people. There's people canvassing the neighborhood. Mr. Geiger had already supplied a written statement, and I went and talked to his wife briefly. And it was obvious that she had heard the gunshots, but she did not look out the window or anything. Only Mr. Geiger did. They were sitting in their living room, and he got up when he heard it, and he was the one that saw the car backing out of the driveway and so forth. But no one else from that household did so. So I did not get a chance to talk to Mr. Geiger in person at that time after he'd supplied his written statement. I believe he went to go run errands, and I think there was something about children. I don't know. I think it was his grandchildren. I don't remember what
Sorry, I sped it up a little bit. I meant to do that in the very beginning.
the case was, but he was not there. So I talked to Ms. Geiger briefly, and then I basically said I'll have to talk to him after reading his statement and see if there's any follow-up to do. So at some point during all this, I was told that there was a location determined for Wendi Adelson. And I was told that now I know I'm the lead investigator, because basically they said, get in your car and go get her, go find her, go talk to her.
So when they sent you to go talk to Wendi Adelson, you figured out, okay, I'm the lead investigator on this.
I believe I asked Sergeant Johnson, does this mean that this is mine? And I think her statement was, this shouldn't be a question at this point. So anyway.
All right. So before we get to Wendi Adelson, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the scene. So maybe you already said that, but what time more or less did you arrive there?
Oh, I don't have my notes. I'm going to guess I arrived there at 11:40. Just guessing. I believe the first call that I got was close to 11:20 or 11:30, something like that.
And we have a 10:52 a.m. would be an approximate time of the murder, right? 10:52
Well,
to
10:51 to 10:55.
I still believe it's 10:53 a.m. when Dan was shot, but that's neither here nor there.
Is intent. If you could narrow it down by driving time, based on when the car was seen northbound on Thomasville Road, and I'm referring to the Prius.
Sure.
But yeah, 10:52 is a good guess.
Okay. So you were there around 11:40. And while you were there, during the time you were at the scene, did anyone bring up to you the fact that
And real quick, the reason why I say 10:53 a.m. is because Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia are seen in the green Prius southbound on Thomasville Road by the bus cam at 10:51 a.m. and they are getting into the left turn lane to turn on Benton. It's about a tenth of a mile, maybe 2/10, and then they turn left onto Trescott. They're seen again at 10:55 a.m. heading away from the crime scene. Well, and we also know that they headed toward Benton Road because Mr. Geiger said that he saw the silvery car heading toward Benton. And then they're seen again right up the street on Thomasville Road northbound at 10:55 a.m. by another bus cam. I just wanted to clarify. Sorry, I'll get back to the video.
Wendi may have driven by the scene?
I don't believe I heard that at that time.
Okay, so he's explaining that he did not hear at all while he was on the scene that Wendi had driven up to the crime scene.
Okay. I don't believe I had gained that knowledge till later in the day.
And a lot of misconception is that Wendi was followed from the scene. That's not true, correct? That is not correct. Okay. So what time approximately did you get a call to go and meet Wendi, and what information were you provided?
So I was still on the scene, and I was trying to get as familiar as possible with everything that was going on and what efforts had already been made. It's like I said, at some point, someone said that Wendi had been located, that she had been located up on Market Street, and they were attempting to narrow down a specific location. At this point, I was basically said,
sorry, I don't know what I just did. Okay, so just to reiterate, they found her vehicle at Market Street.
And so at this point, I was basically said, I was instructed go to Market Street because that's who needs to be talked to. And so I got my car. I was by myself. Everybody had jobs to do. So I got my car. I went to Market Street. I coordinated with investigators that were in that area up off of Thomasville Road. And I was basically told it was her car had been identified. Her van had been identified in the parking lot. It had been verified that was her van and that she was.
Okay, so this is when I get back to my theory, and I'll play that part in a few minutes. But I discussed a few weeks ago in a live stream about license plate readers and how they were implemented in January of 2009, and with a 5 to 7 year plan to be all over Tallahassee, the city of Tallahassee. And not only were they on streets, because in 2009, January of 2009, their 16 cameras were set up along I-10. Specifically, one of the exits was Thomasville Road exit off of exit 203. So I-10 and Thomasville Road intersection. And they were also on the streets. And license plate readers are real time. The software is called SunGuide, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a few minutes. But they located her vehicle. In addition to them being on the streets, they were also implemented on 7 different law enforcement agencies' vehicles in the city of Tallahassee. And that included Florida Highway Patrol, Tallahassee, City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee PD, Leon County Sheriff's Office, the 2 universities, FSU and FAMU parking services, DBPR, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, and also FWC, which is our Florida Wildlife Commission.
More than likely in Mosaic, which was a small restaurant in the strip mall. And so I entered. If you want to keep going, okay.
Let me back up for a second, okay? So at this time, as you're gonna go, feel free to take a break anytime. At this time, you're heading to meet Wendi Adelson. You already spoke to Jim Geiger's wife, and you were briefed on the scene. How much did you know at this time that you're going to meet Wendi? Do you know that whether she's an ex-wife or current wife? Do you?
No, we just know that. I don't think anybody had the opportunity yet at that point to check for. There was no reason to. There was no reason to check to see if there was any civil cases in the Leon County court system. No, we didn't know. As far as I knew, she lived there.
Right.
I mean, that was the residence stuff. I don't remember what her driver's license, if she had changed her driver's license to the Aqua Ridge address at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I pretty much just assumed that she's on the utilities there, and so she must live there. Now, you got the 2 different last names. We didn't know, I didn't know about for sure what that was going on. There was other investigators. There's unsung heroes in this that did a lot of data mining. I mean, they were looking up Markel. They were looking up Adelson. And I'm sure early on that they pieced those 2 together. But she didn't have a hyphenated name. To my knowledge, she never took Markel as a married name. So I'm going to find her as a resident of 2116 Trescott and a possible spouse or significant other. I didn't know at the time.
Sure. And well, obviously, being the spouse, whether ex or not, you didn't know at the time, but being the spouse, she would be a person of interest you want to talk to, because she would probably have a lot of information that would be useful to find out what happened to her husband, that you thought it was her husband at the time.
Right.
But so you're going into this meeting with Wendi for the first time, I guess, in the dark, as far as all the bickering and all the divorce litigation, all that.
I had no idea at that time, but information was constantly flowing. It was constantly, coming in, mostly coming in constantly. My colleagues were constantly finding new information about stuff. I don't think it was very long, and I got to be very candid about this. There may have been some inkling of a divorce or separation or different address, the Aqua Ridge thing. That could have all come in, but my whole mind and my mentality was get to Market Street, and then it was narrowed down to most likely Mosaic. Make contact with this person, and be very careful about talking to this individual, not knowing the whole relationship. So I believe when I got there and before I went inside, for some reason, I keep thinking that an investigator that was out at Creative Preschool, so somehow I'm behind. I'm behind in the game.
Yeah.
Other people know more, and other people are learning more, and it's all going to a central location. And I'm a player just like everybody else. So I believe before I went inside, somebody passed on the information by radio, by phone, something, that the children, that there is children that live at the home. They're not at the home. They weren't at the home, and they were at Creative Preschool out on West Arp.
Okay, so they learned that information through the Early Learning Coalition, which is a database that law enforcement, people who work for Department of Children and Families, Department of Health folks, they all have access to the Early Learning Coalition that shows you what preschool children are like enrolled in, okay? And if they were school-age children, they would have access to the Leon County school system.
Because I had to know that to be able to reassure Wendi that the children were fine. So
Sure.
in hindsight and looking at it from that direction, I had to know that. I wouldn't have brought that up otherwise.
Right, of course. So before you go in to talk to Wendi, was there like a patrolman or other investigators? Other investigators were in the area.
In the area. Yeah.
Were you the first person to make contact with her, or did
Yes.
they make contact with
They
her?
did not make contact. No.
Were you the first person to make contact with Wendi and just describe to us that initial contact, what you observed, who she was with, and everything that you can take us there, if you don't mind. You can be in the present tense. I'm walking in, and just tell us what happened.
We were in plain clothes. There was no patrol officers there. No.
So plain clothes, no marked cars, no actual patrol officers wearing the full-on uniform, but these guys did have badges, but they're wearing plain clothes. They're detectives.
Uniforms there, but we had badges displayed. Obviously, and when I walked in, there was only a handful of people. There was a table of 3 ladies to my left as I walked in the door, and I believe there was either a single or another couple on the other side. But for some reason, I got the impression that they worked there. It was late for lunch too. It's 1:15, and so I pretty much had honed in that she's one of these 3 ladies here. I may have already seen a picture of her. I don't recall. It's been 11 years, but I walked in and I went to the table, and there's 3 ladies sitting there, and I said, I need to speak with Wendi Adelson. Investigator Craig Isom with the Tallahassee Police Department. There was the normal shock at first. The eyes get big, and there's questions rolling in their heads, and what's this about, but they don't say anything.
From
And
all 3 ladies. All 3 ladies
Yes.
were not surprised.
All 3.
Okay.
So eventually she said, Wendi identified her. She said, I'm Wendi Adelson. And I asked her to step away from the table. I had to discuss something with her in private. She got up. We stepped probably 10, 15 feet away. It wasn't a big place, but we got far enough away that I felt like that no one else could hear. And I, once again, introduced myself. And I said, I need to talk to you, but I need you to come with me to the police department. And she had her mouth opened, but she didn't say anything. And I said, your children are fine. I said, your children are at preschool. There's nothing wrong with them. There's officers at the preschool. They're completely safe. However, there has been an incident at your home on Trescott. And I believe she said, I don't live on Trescott or something. I said, well, the utilities are in your name. And she goes, well, that's just never been changed.
Can you believe that she responded, I don't live on Trescott? Wouldn't that have been like, holy moly, what happened on Trescott? Why would you say, I don't live on Trescott? I'll continue in 1 second, guys. We're almost done with Mentor Lawyers video here. I just wanted to show it. Thank you all for being here. I see that Mr. C. Max has joined, and Justice Jane, hello. Jolly, thank you. Thank you for being here. But yeah, I don't live on Trescott. Like the response is, what's happened on Trescott? Ugh. Wendi.
She says, that would be my ex-husband's home. I said, okay, well, I still need you to come with me for a discussion, and I have to provide you more information, but I'm not going to do it here. And I want to take you to a secure environment. You're not under arrest. You're not being detained either. You're just coming with me so I can give you this information in a proper setting. She kind of questioned it for a second. She just stood there for a second. And then she turned and she walked over to the table without saying anything. I was like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on with this. She walked over and she told the other two ladies, she said, I have to go with this officer and I have to find out, apparently something's happened and he won't tell me anymore until we go to the police department. And she
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because that's really the only section that I wanted to play in regards to this. I apologize for the dog barking in the background. That is not my dog. That is my dog's girlfriend, which is my neighbor's female dog. So I apologize. So I want to show one thing just to clear up. Okay, so Isom confirms that nobody followed her from the crime scene, okay? And just to reiterate, I did include this last time, that law enforcement cannot conduct a felony stop without evidence. It violates the Fourth Amendment protection against reasonable searches and seizures. And then I want to also show one more thing. Well, in another reason, not only does it violate your Fourth Amendment, it also is very dangerous for police. Like, they don't know what they're encountering. They just don't do felony stops, right? So nobody followed her from the crime scene. And then a second thing I want to show right here is in regards to cell phone pings, because he doesn't necessarily say license plate readers, but the reason being is that the police are not going to share their tips and tricks with all of the public. Okay, they're just not. But whenever you need to trace someone's cell phone ping, you have to get a warrant for it. And the warrant, law enforcement must establish probable cause. And the probable cause is like criminal probable cause. They didn't see Wendi as a suspect. They're only trying to find out where she is because they want to find, because the utilities are in her name. They think that she is a resident of that home. So not only are they trying to inform her that someone at her home has been shot, they also, want to interview her. But Isom maintains that Wendi was never a suspect anyway. Oh, I really apologize for that dog. Okay, I'm going to read the chat for a second. Okay, Jolie says, Mr. Geiger did know that they were divorcing. Dan's attorney was called from the scene. He knew the officer, so he told the officer about papers to be filed that day. Okay, you're talking about Webster. Yeah, and Jolie, yeah, all hands on deck. Data mining, you guys, data mining. Okay, and we'll learn in a minute because I'm going to replay the beginning of my live stream from a few weeks ago, like how the Sun Guide software in regards to license plate reader is real time. All they have to do is put in someone's license plate number and hit an alert, and they're being notified once it's located. And the license plate readers were also on cars. They're about the size of a silver dollar. I've seen them on the Florida Highway Patrol vehicles, the FHP. We call them the state troopers. And they were just basically driving everywhere, all around. Max says, yeah, because she immediately trying to cover her ass. Like, it wasn't me. Like Donna. Like Donna when she calls the bump guy, it's not me. Yeah. Yeah, most moms would have needed to hear at least 3 times that their children are safe, right? Skytroop says Wendy's words, actions, and behaviors throughout this entire crime and trials are highly suspect. I've always said the Adelsons cannot even act innocent. They cannot even act it. I don't live there, but your boys do have the time. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You guys, Wendi, ugh. I don't live on Trescott, but I was just there and saw police. Yeah, she doesn't mention any of that. She waits until she gets back to TPD. And isn't it a couple of hours in when she talks about being on Trescott? Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't believe when everyone was saying they pinged her cell phone. That theory never made sense. It never made sense to me either. They have to get a warrant, and they have to have probable cause to get that warrant. And once so let's just say they did have probable cause, and then they got a warrant signed by a judge, and then they have to contact the cell phone company with that warrant. Like, that takes a lot of time. It's not going to be like within 2 hours. Isom said he showed up on scene at 11:40 p.m., and I'm assuming he was probably notified around 1:40, like within like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because they're back at the police station. If I remember correctly, I think that she's in that interview room. Is it like, it's either like 2:15, 2:30-ish. It's fairly quickly. Yeah. Well, so Jibs and Jabs gave me that tip like over a year ago. I did a whole bunch of research last September, but I never did anything with it. And then just a few weeks ago, I was like, okay, let me go ahead and get my theory out there, because I did see a lot of theories. And of course, I've been hearing everybody's speculation. But even when I was watching Mentor Lawyers live stream, I believe it was with part 2, because this interview that I just showed you was Mentor Lawyers part 1, interviewing Detective Isom. Everyone in there had watched part 1, and then I was on the live stream when he's, premiering part 2, and like I kept seeing all of these like comments. It's the cell phone ping. It's the cell phone ping, and so I guess that's one thing. Is like, I really want people to critically think about things and listen, right? Like, you have to listen. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody, because I don't know if everybody's mind works like mine, or, like, we don't all have the same brain, right? So, but you have to listen to exactly what he's saying. And if you think it's a cell phone ping, then just, Google it real quick. Valami, hi, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Valami says it's interesting she didn't answer her phone when they tried to call her. Wonder what she was doing. Well, no telling. John says, I wonder if they checked that info for times before the murder for the theory that she hadn't been at the scene before Dan's murder. I thought about that, but I feel like there's so much more we're going to learn during Wendy's trial, because in like my point of view is that they just keep dropping more and more evidence as all of these trials continue. We started in 2019, and then there was one in 2022. Then there was Charlie's trial. Well, 2019 was Sigfredo and Katie. Sigfredo gets convicted. Katie is a hung jury, 11-1. Katie is retried in 2022, and one of the reasons why it took so long is because of the COVID mess, right? And then Charlie is tried in 2023, and now here we are in 2025, and Donna's been tried, and we just keep learning more and more information. And Georgia is so careful in the way that she questions Wendi, and she questions her on things that she already knows the answers on. Because Georgia has been asking Wendi about WhatsApp since 2019. Georgia might not have all of the content on WhatsApp, but she definitely has some sort of information about WhatsApp. Hi, baby doll. Thank you for joining us. Let's see what Kim says. That's why I was wondering if she maybe was an ABC or possibly ignoring it. Yeah. Well, okay, ABC, okay, that timestamp was 12:49. Yeah, I don't know. She might have been. Tennis girl, that is interesting that she didn't answer. I wonder what time they called. Yeah, I don't know what time they called. I don't know if we'll ever know. Okay, so next thing I want to show you guys, and I will kind of speed this up because whenever I try to present something, I realize later, my computer skills are not the best. And a lot of times my message falls flat, and I don't mean for it to. I mean, I'm not a professional YouTuber. So I want to play some of this. And this is just really mapping out how the license plate readers were implemented and installed across Tallahassee. And I'm going to... Hi, everyone. This is True Crime Wifey. Oh my
Thanks
God,
for joining.
Oh,
So I've attempted to do this 3 different times. I accidentally deleted.
okay, so I'm going to talk about my computer woes, my challenges, but it is hard to listen to yourself. So I definitely need to speed it up because I'm cringing.
A live stream and then continue to talk into my StreamYard as if I was still presenting something, which is crazy. And then I reset it and redid it. And I've been sitting here for over 20 minutes and then realized that I never clicked go live. So here's my...
Okay, so I'm kind of complaining about my issues.
Hang on. All right, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. I'm going to talk to you guys about my theory. I do believe that I know. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Allison. You guys, thanks for joining. Okay, this is my 3rd or 4th attempt on going live. I deleted my live stream in the middle of it, and then I just...
Okay, I was just muted. Sky Troop, Lord have mercy. Okay, I was just muted. I just want to address this real quick. That's not what Isom said. Isom actually said that they knew that Dan's phone was on scene. They knew that Wendi had a phone. They also said that they tried to call Wendi's phone and she didn't answer. People assume that meant that her cell phone had been pinged, But in order for law enforcement to ping a cell phone, they have to have probable cause, they have to get a warrant signed by a judge, and then they have to actually call the cell phone companies to ping a phone. My theory is that they used license plate readers. And you can agree to disagree with me. You can have your own thoughts. I'm not going to tell anybody what to think or believe. This is just my theory, and I'm reiterating and revisiting my theory after I saw Isom's interview with Mentor Lawyer, Deep Dive True Crime. But I really appreciate you for being here. But what you said here is like, that's not what I got from Isom's interview at all.
Redid it for 20 minutes and realized that I hadn't even clicked out real quick. All right, I'm hoping you. Oh. It probably, this was probably, a higher power telling me don't try to go live.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate this because I don't necessarily need to replay my live stream. So I just kind of remember all of the information. I got this information from the Department of Transportation, May of 2009 newsletter that they sent out. And so in May of 2009, they sent out a newsletter and they said in January, it was January 13th and 14th of 2009, they implemented 16 license plate readers across 5 different exits on I-10. And here, wait, I'll do this real quick. Let me share this because I'll just show you this part. The exits are here. The exits are, okay, up here that's exit 209. Right here is exit 203. This is Thomasville Road. Here, this is North Monroe. This is exit 199. Down here is exit 196, and that's like Capitol Circle Northwest. And over here is exit 192, and that is the US 90 and I-10 interchange. But there were 16 license plate readers across all of this. Not only were they on the interstate, they were also on the cross streets. In addition to that, there was approved funding for the next 5 to 7 years to implement license plate readers all across the city of Tallahassee, not only on the streets, but to include 7 different law enforcement agencies. Yes, they're all over the place. Hi, Beverly Lawyer. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm going to go back to this real quick. Okay, I apologize. I just had a little bit of a mishap. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for being here. Yes, it's a lot of readers. So the 7 different agencies that they implemented them on their vehicles, they're about the size of a silver dollar, are the Florida Highway Patrol, Leon County Sheriff's Office, Tallahassee PD, the 2 university parking services, which is FSU and FAMU, Department of Business and Professional Regulation, and Florida Wildlife Commission. Okay? Thank you guys for being here. I'm sorry. I was just like, I thought I was just sharing my screen. I don't know, I kind of get a little, but yeah. That's what we're doing here, Hey Swampy. I'm just giving everyone my theory. I'm reiterating and revisiting my theory. Hi, New York Patriot lady. Good to see you. Hey, Tattletales.
Pointing me. This is my third attempt to go live. I've deleted a live during my stream where Wendi used to live on Trescott. That was like the crappy liquor store, you guys. It was not a place where you wanted to go into. Trust me. Just saying. There were 3 better ones, newer ones, recently renovated or recently built and much larger, where she could have gotten her bullet bourbon.
So when FHP or whatever law enforcement agency actually located Wendi's car or Wendi's minivan outside of Mosaic Restaurant in the Market Square Plaza, shopping plaza, it's very large, it's very nice as well, they would have immediately called, right, TPD. Isom was of course, Isom is the detective on call, meaning on call he was taking a new, homicide case that came in. It kind of goes in a rotation. If you've ever been an investigator or you've ever been in any type of response type situation where, you respond to things, there's kind of like an on-call rotation schedule. So, Isom was next up, right? They didn't just select Isom to be the detective. He was probably next up. He's like, oh, okay, well, gonna miss dinner tonight with the fam. So they would have immediately contacted TPD, spoken to Isom, and he would have gone and driven over to Market Square when they located Wendi. Prior to locating Wendi, of course, they first locate her minivan in the parking lot. But prior to them locating her personally or her physically, there would have been not only marked cars, but also unmarked cars that would have been cruising. Right? Cruising, maybe even civilian clothed detectives or law enforcement going into the different shopping stores or the restaurants looking for someone who fit her description. Isom would have been notified and said, hello, we've located this particular person, Wendi Jill Adelson at Mosaic. She appears as she does in her driver's license photo. And we have her here. And Isom is the one who actually approaches her. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking for 1 minute and talk to the chat. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why I kept letting that play is because basically what I believe had happened is pretty much exactly what Isom said happened, right? They located her car in the parking lot of Market Street, and then they found her person in Mosaic. And then they contacted him and said, we found her and we believe she's in Mosaic. I did say that there would have been like patrol vehicles and civilian clothed detectives walking around. They would have been going in and out of the stores. And this is not like a, hey, I told you so. Okay, I'm not really doing that. I just wanted to kind of revisit this because I felt like my theory was a pretty good theory. And then when I watched Mentor Lawyers Part 1, because he's chopped it up over parts. But when I watched his Isom interview, Part 1, I kind of felt a little vindicated, if you will. So what do you guys think? Like, have you guys at the very beginning? I showed about maybe about 20 minutes or so of Mentor Lawyer Deep Dive True Crime. If you're not subscribed to him, go over there and give him a subscription. And I did about 20 minutes of his interview with Isom. Like, did you guys gather that type of information? Or, I mean, what do you all think? So Tennis Girl says Beverly Lawyer. She's about to reveal that, but we think, oh yeah, what's my theory? My theory is license plate readers. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like either TPD or Florida Highway Patrol most likely located them, because Leon County would have been in the county. The city would have been covered by the city and FHP, especially in that area. And they might have even caught her on a license plate reader headed toward there at that intersection of I-10 and Thomasville Road, because she would have gone northbound. Thomasville Road went under I-10 and then turned left either on Timber Lane, or the next light would have been Market Square, or I'm sorry, Market Street, leading her right to Mosaic. This only interview. Yeah, as far as I know, Beverly, Mentor Lawyer is the only person who's done an interview with Isom. And Isom's very careful in that interview, as far as I'm concerned. I believe he might be up to about 5 different episodes, because, you know, Mentor Lawyer probably had like a really long interview with him, but he's chopped it up over, you know, several different parts at this point. But yeah, Isom says they did not follow her. I thought that they had gotten Wendy's information off of the property appraiser, because I believe I said that, well, because I believed Wendy when she said that she had taken her name off the title of the house, but she actually hadn't, if you look at the property appraiser. But they found out Wendy's name from city utilities, because apparently all of the utilities at the Trescott home were still in Wendy's name. But remember, they didn't know that Wendi was renting a new home on Aqua Ridge Way, because that was under Donna's maiden name, Jacobs. And we learned that during Donna's trial. Okay, I'm going to continue. Let me see. I know this live stream. Thank you, Valami. It makes sense, because he says that they were trying to narrow down where the car was. Great theory. You guys, and listen, you know, I mean, I was kind of putting this in Mentor Lawyers chat. I think it was on the part 2 part. But like, people are like, Isom never said license plate readers. You guys, the police are not going to tell the general public their tricks and tips. They're not. Yeah, well, utilities might be in her name over at Aqua Ridgeway, but they didn't specify that during trial, Beverly. But Wendy's residence, when she did the Pearl Harbor filing for divorce when Dan was out of town in late July of 2012, yes, they rented that home on Aqua Ridge Way in Donna's maiden name, Jacobs. And that was revealed during Donna's trial a few weeks ago. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, that was interesting information from Isom when he said that the utilities at Trescott were still in Wendy's name. Let me go back up and make sure I haven't missed anybody. I don't know why. Like, she would have seen it. Well, I don't know. A lot of times when the police are calling your cell phone, it might say private number. But she definitely would have seen it, either a private number or 850. She might have even seen Tallahassee Police Department. Yeah, no telling Tattletales. Tattle says, I wonder what other things she took care of under her maiden name. Well, that's another thing about Donna being in the jail and the information that we learned, like from the jail informants. I feel like Donna might have been making calls or contacts with people under their tablets, like the other inmate tablets, like trading tablets for commissary. Yeah. I mean, she might have been. Hi, Mrs. Skytroop. It's so good to see you. How are you? Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to show any of my like walking or driving videos that gives that gives you motion sickness. And there's Mr. Skytroop. You guys are too cute. So that's really what I have for this evening. Kind of wanted to reiterate it. Yeah, Donna's in jail right now trying to hook up another scam. I don't think she ever takes a day off. She might be. Who knows? Yeah, I'm not gonna show anything that's gonna make Mrs. Skytrip dizzy. I don't know if you guys remember or if you watched Mentor Lawyer. It was probably like a year and a half ago or so when like they got Donna's planner and how packed it was. It was like, 17 things to do every day, like so organized and like checked off. And I mean, I'm kind of a list taker or a list maker, but she looked like she was juggling like 1,000 plates at one time. Yeah, right, Tattle? Oof. And then when we learned during this trial about how she had Dan's license plate number in the back of her 2014 planner, that was so chilling. Yeah, she is the domestic coordinator. She was coordinating everything. Okay, so I just wanted to hop on and I wanted to kind of reiterate my theory about license plate reader. And I know that Isom did not say specifically license plate readers, but I feel like he kind of like told us a lot of information that I had speculated on. But he did tell Mentor Lawyer that no one followed Wendi from the crime scene. Yes, he mentioned a phone, but again, you have to get a probable cause warrant signed by a judge and then contact the cell phone companies in order to track a cell phone ping. Yeah. It's like calling your janitor, consider yes. Is that what they're called now? Yeah, the way that Donna and Wendi planned everything ahead of Wendi leaving Dan, there's no way that they didn't do so in advance planning prior to Dan's murder. Yeah. And that was kind of Tamara Demko's theory. Like when she's sitting there and she's being interviewed by Isom, she's really like, she starts thinking back to how carefully executed the secret divorce filing of Dan was. Mm-hmm. Well, another thing is that I watch, I watch Florida Highway Patrol and also Arkansas State Police. Like I watch those like police chases, and a lot of times the video will start where the cop, is sitting on a highway and starts chasing a vehicle, and they're already being notified that they are the suspect in a robbery, and it's like many miles away by the time that the trooper is like pulling out, and starting chasing them. And Jibs and Jabs did give me this tip, and I was like, okay, well, let me look into it. And I did so like last September, but just ended up doing a video recently, past few weeks. Hi, Leslie B. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, you can do that, Tato. But they also didn't have any reason to ping her phone. I mean, I could be wrong. And if I don't believe that they're ever going to tell us that they use license plate readers. I mean, but if we ever learn that they did not, I would be happy to say I was wrong. This is just my theory, okay? Well, thank you all for being here. I'm going to actually end the live stream. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying to stay on topic and not go a little bit too far out there. Yes, Leslie. So initially in January of 2009, there were 16. That's what this map is on here. 16 installed across 5 different exits on interstate, and they were also installed on the crossroads. So Thomasville Road is one of those crossroads. But in addition to that, there was funding provided to the city of Tallahassee to implement license plate readers all across the city within 5 to 7 years of 2009. Those license plate readers also included being installed on vehicles of law enforcement, 7 different law enforcement agencies in the city. Well, when I was doing my research, the very first license plate reader program was installed in London, England in 1976. So 49 years ago. I'm sure it looked a lot different then, but yeah. And the 7 different agencies are Florida Highway Patrol. I know I'm repeating myself, but just in case people are coming in. Florida Highway Patrol, Tallahassee Police Department, Leon County Sheriff's Office, FSU, Florida State University Parking Service, FAMU, Florida Atlantic and Mechanical University Parking Service, DBPR, which is Department of Business and Professional Regulation, and then also FWC, the Florida Wildlife Commission. So the license plate readers about the size of a silver dollar were installed on those vehicles as well. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. And until next time, I'll see you later. Have a good night.